and then they get fake news, New York Times and CNN, make up a phony story to get some hits. That's the only reason I cared about it, because those pilots were so brave. I've never seen anything like it. They flew into the hornet's nest, and then they got hurt so badly by what the fake news wrote. And it was CNN, it was the New York Times, and they're both disgusting, really horrible groups of people.
All right, folks, we have some fairly shocking breaking news. As we speak, Donald Trump and key members of the Trump administration are at a NATO summit, and they are also in the midst of the biggest public meltdown of the Trump administration in its second term over a bombshell leak indicating that Trump's unilateral and likely illegal military strikes against Iran's nuclear capabilities were woefully inadequate and perhaps even a total failure. And in response to this, Trump is lashing out with fury at everybody who dares ask him about it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about. Trump is off the rocker. He is pissed. He's frothing at the mouth in rage. So we're going to place these clips. They are all from the NATO summit today, and we'll unpack them together.
Mr. President, what's your reaction to the intelligence reports saying that the Iranian nuclear sites were only partially devastated, not entirely?
Yeah, well, they said it was actually, the report said it could have been they don't know. I mean, they did a report. I could have Pete talk to it because his department did the report. They really don't know. I think Israel's going to be telling us very soon, because Bibi is going to have people involved in that whole situation. We hear it was obliteration. It was a virtual obliteration. When you take a look at the ground above, don't forget, the flame is all underground. But everything above, if you look at the before and the after picture, everything above is burned black. The trees, everything. There's one building, but that's a building that sunk substantially into the granite, so that, you know, the fire goes right over it. I believe it was total obliteration. I believe they didn't have a chance to get anything out because we acted fast. If it would have taken 2 weeks maybe, but it's very hard to remove that kind of material. Very hard and very dangerous for them to remove it. Plus, they knew we were coming, and if they know we're coming, they're not going to be down there. There aren't too many people that are going to be down there. Pete, do you have something to say about that?
Well, Mr. President, when you talk to the people who built the bombs, understand what those bombs can do, and deliver those bombs, they landed precisely where they were supposed to, so it was a flawless mission.
Flawless.
Right down where we knew they needed to enter, and given the 30,000 pounds of explosives and capability of those munitions, it was devastation underneath Fordo. And the amount of munitions, 6 per location, any assessment that tells you it was something otherwise is speculating with other motives. And we know that because when you actually look at the report, by the way, it was a top secret report, it was preliminary, it was low confidence. All right, so this isn't, you make assessments based on what you know.
They said it could be very devastating, very serious.
Moderate to severe, and we believe far more likely severe and obliterated. So this is a political motive here.
Is there a leak investigation?
Of course, we're doing a leak investigation with the FBI right now because this information is for internal purposes, battle damage assessments, and CNN and others are trying to spin it to make the president look bad when this was an overwhelming success.
Yeah, so they're panicking about this, and Trump's reaction becomes more viscerally angry in the subsequent clips I'm going to show you. But again, just for context, exclusive. Early U.S. intel assessments suggest strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear sites, sources say. The U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back by months, according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment that was described by 7 people briefed on it. The assessment, which has not been previously reported, was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Pentagon's intelligence arm. It is based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. Central Command in the aftermath of the U.S. strikes, one of the sources said. The analysis of the damage to the sites and the impact of the strikes on Iran's nuclear ambitions is ongoing and could change as more intelligence becomes available. But the early findings are at odds with Donald Trump's repeated claims that the strikes, quote, completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth also said on Sunday that Iran's nuclear ambitions, quote, have been obliterated. So that's from CNN. Again, we'll get to some more clips of Trump in a moment. Strikes sent back Iran's nuclear program by only a few months, U.S. intelligence report says. Preliminary classified findings indicate that the attack sealed off the entrances to 2 facilities but did not collapse their underground buildings. A preliminary classified U.S. report says the American bombing of 3 nuclear sites in Iran set back the country's nuclear program by only a few months, according to officials familiar with the findings. The strike sealed off the entrances to 2 of the facilities, but did not collapse their underground buildings, the officials said the early findings concluded. Before the attack, U.S. intelligence agencies said that if Iran tried to rush making a bomb, it would take about 3 months. After the U.S. bombing run in days of attacks by the Israeli Air Force, the report by the Defense Intelligence Agency estimated that the program had been delayed, but by less than 6 months. So these are the preliminary bombshell reports based on leaks from the Pentagon, okay? Could that information change? Absolutely. But this is what Trump and Hegseth are reacting to. And again, as these clips go on, Trump becomes even more unhinged.
Very unfair to the pilots that risk their lives for our country, and then they get fake news, New York Times and CNN, make up a phony story to get some hits. That's the only reason I cared about it, because those pilots were so brave. I've never seen anything like it. They flew into the hornet's nest, and then they got hurt so badly by what the fake news wrote. And it was CNN, it was the New York Times, and they're both disgusting, really horrible groups of people. The pilots did an unbelievable job like nobody's ever seen. They hit pay dirt. You see where I guess you probably look, they call it the wound. You see where the wound is on the earth.
So again, nobody in the CNN or the New York Times reporting is undermining the skill and the bravery of the pilots delivering the bombs. That's a totally separate issue. Nobody contests that, but Trump is trying to make that the issue to cover for the humiliation wrought by these leaks, indicating that the entire mission failed ultimately to do what it intended to do. That's on Trump. Trump is trying to obfuscate the issue. Here's another clip.
Up on Iran, both you and Secretary Rubio and Hegseth mentioned the leaks, but can you clarify, is the intelligence correct or is the intelligence wrong?
Well, the intelligence was very inconclusive. The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe. That's what the intelligence says. So I guess that's correct. But I think we can take the we don't know. It was very severe. It was obliteration. And you'd think that a media outlet would say, isn't that a great thing? I mean, more importantly for the pilots, for the military, you take their guts out. You take their absolute guts out. They had a tremendous attack. It was a complete obliteration. The other team, the other group, Iran, said, let's stop this. And you know what? Israel said it too. Very smart. They fought like hell, and then they said, let's stop. And they're going to...
They also violated Trump's ceasefire. I mean, it never got off the ground. Now, they may not be attacking right now, but when Trump, the ceasefire deadline, they were attacking each other before, during, and after that deadline, and Trump was pissed about it. But again, he's trying to make this like it's a personal attack against the pilots when it has nothing to do with it. Nobody's saying that the pilots or the operators of the munitions did anything wrong, but that the munitions themselves were insufficient to do what Donald Trump said he wanted them to do. That's a failure of Pete Hegseth. That's a failure of Donald Trump. That is not a failure of the people who actually operationally ran the mission. Here's another clip again of Donald Trump continuing to lash out at the media for just asking a perfectly reasonable question about this bombshell leak.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
if the Iranians do rebuild, would the United States...
If they rebuild?
Would the United States strike again? And I have also a question about
But
Russia.
I'm not going to have to worry about that. It's gone for years. Very tough to rebuild because the whole thing is collapsed. In other words, inside, it's all collapsed. Nobody can get in to see it because it's collapsed. You can't go in to see a room that has, 10 million tons of rock in it. And the tunnels are totally collapsed.
But if they rebuild?
Well, they've already looked at the tunnels. This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You have some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is...
So yeah, he's continuing to just totally lash out at the media for asking perfectly reasonable questions. He's going on like this. He doesn't stop. It's just minutes and minutes and minutes of precious time at this NATO summit ranting about the press.
So it's just fake news by CNN, which has got no ratings. It's a failed network. Anybody here from CNN, by the way? Because you're a really disgraceful network. MSNBC, I think, is actually worse. But they're all pretty bad. But yours is good, Katie, I'll tell you.
But Mr. President,
You know what Marco reminded me that he did such a nice job there. It was 9 years ago I had to debate this guy. He was not easy.
I'm trying to deflect and make nice with Marco Rubio. So that was at a sitting setting at a different part of the NATO summit. Trump is again lashing out at the media.
Did very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not, wasting time, nobody's watching them, so they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time. And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way.
Yeah. Comparing it to the bombing of, 2 Japanese civilian population centers, which ended the Second World War, or at least in the Pacific Theater. I mean, again, it's all about his vanity, right? The reason that he is so pissed off is because he's embarrassed at the moment because there is evidence, right? Again, now perhaps the weight of the evidence will shift as more intelligence becomes available. Totally open to that. But as of right now, there is evidence that this operation was not nearly as successful as Trump intended it to be. And his vanity can't abide that. He can't tolerate that the possibility that he failed. And he fails all the time. But that's really what this is about. He is so intent. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize because Obama had it, and he wants to add another feather to his cap. It's all about his ego, and his ego is being challenged right now, and he can't handle it.
Stated, I got a call from Missouri, great state, that I won 3 times by a lot. And I got a call that the pilots and the people on the plane were devastated because they were trying to minimize the attack. And they all said it was hit. But we don't think it was really maybe hit that badly. And they were devastated. They put their lives on the line, and then they have, and I'm not referring to you, but real scum come out and write reports that are as negative as they could possibly be. It should be the opposite. You should make them heroes and heroines. You should make them really people that they were so devastated when they heard this news. And you know what they said? One of them, I spoke to one of them, he said, "Sir, we hit the site. It was perfect. It was dead on." Because they don't understand fake news, because they have a normal life.
Nobody's saying that they missed the target. Nobody's saying like that they were supposed to hit a specific point and they hit something else entirely. They did their part. They did their job. It was just, according to leaks from Trump's own government, his own Defense Department, that even hitting the target with the proper ammunition, with the proper munitions, was just insufficient to get the job done. They didn't miss. They didn't go to the wrong place. They didn't drop it the wrong way. They did everything right operationally. It's just that strategically, it wasn't enough, according to leaks, to do what Trump needed it to do. That's it. But again, skillfully trying to make this about the media attacking the press, the media attacking soldiers to appeal to, the right's, faux patriotism. And I do call it faux patriotism because it's really, again, about Trump's vanity and his vanity project and not, enduring consistent American principles. The right, have proven, the Republican Party at the very least, that they don't give a damn about soldiers when it comes to cutting VA benefits, when it comes to opposition to the PACT Act, which expanded veterans' health care. Jon Stewart, liberals, and Democrats are able to get it through and signed into law by President Biden. Republicans like to use soldiers as props the way that Trump is here for their own vanity projects, but at the end of the day, they don't really give a damn about soldiers, at least not the elected Republicans. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Trump is being humiliated. He's embarrassed. He's lashing out. So is Pete Hegseth. And again, we'll see what happens. They may be vindicated in the end. Again, additional intelligence might actually prove them right. But as of right now, there's intelligence which indicates the contrary coming from their own administration. Trump has egg on his face, and now he's lashing out at the press. And again, I've not seen a sustained public meltdown from Trump about like this. I mean, 2 different settings, just constantly bashing the media. This is a bit unprecedented, and it just goes to show how insecure he is. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.